It's Saturday with Ted on In-Depth Radio, Newstalk 1010.
It seems not a day goes by without news of a hack, ransomware, people looking for money for hacking into your system. And recently, a major hack in Europe, which affected hospitals in London and also the German railway system. This is scary, scary, scary stuff. Joining me to talk about this, Michael Stevens. He's VP of Marketing at Asigra. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks for having me on.
Tell me about Asigra.
Asigra is a 30-year-old company. We are one of the original backup software providers in the market, targeting enterprise customers. Recently, with all the ransomware attacks, backup is your first line of defense again to solve the problem.
Statistics show over $1 billion in ransom being paid and resulted in $75 billion in lost productivity.
That's correct. That was in 2016, and this is going to be a worse problem going forward. And yesterday was a prime example of what's coming down the pipe. And when you think about it, they spent $1 billion. They received $1 billion in ransom, and that's a lot of money for R&D. And the hackers who are developing this code are going to continue to make this code much more sophisticated, and therefore we got to increase our defense profiles to protect against it.
Who are these people?
Just hackers in various markets around the world. It's getting far more sophisticated as we move forward. In fact, just recently, we've seen examples of where people are even starting to franchise it. So the developers of the software are now offering to people who are not as technically sophisticated the ability to go and, here, I'll give you my software. You go out, you initiate the attacks, and we'll share the profits and the proceeds from those attacks.
Let's talk about some of the things that you need to do. And when I say you, it's literally everybody.
Everybody is exposed, and there's a couple really important things you need to consider, though, moving forward. And there's some best practices everybody needs to put in place when they're to ensure that, at least to minimize the risk. There's no foolproof system, but to minimize the risk, you need to do a few things. Number one, keep your software up to date. This attack that happened yesterday you would not have had it if you had up-to-date Microsoft patches from 2 months ago installed on your machines. But people are still running Windows XP out there, and a lot of people who were hit in the past couple of days, including the hospitals, are running Windows XP when they could have updated to even Windows 7 and Windows 10 and been managing their patches properly. Another thing they should be doing is using good antivirus software. Antivirus software is not foolproof. You're going to be exposed. A lot of these attacks are using attack methodologies antivirus can't stop, but it's still, you should be at least protecting yourself to the best of your ability. But the most important thing is make sure you got good backups of all your software, because if you do get your data encrypted, you can usually recover from a good backup.
You know, what's really interesting is governments are always saying we don't negotiate with terrorists. And yet in these cases that we've seen in the last year, that's exactly what we are doing. Hospitals, organizations, all kinds of people are paying to get their information back or unhacked.
And the unfortunate part about it is governments will tell you not to negotiate with terrorists, but when the gun's being held to your head, and remember, the gun's being held to your head not from somebody locally, but somebody on the other side of the world that the government can't access and can't prosecute, you a lot of times don't have a lot of choice.
Right.
A good example is, hospitals. We're talking life and death situations. I saw a tweet yesterday from a doctor in one of the hospitals in England who said people are going to die because of this, because those hospitals lose access to their information technology, they're going to have to cancel procedures and even, emergency procedures to the best of their ability to manage. But as we all know, when you cancel a procedure, you're putting the patient at risk. And Another example coming down the pipe and is that, as I said, these guys are getting far more sophisticated. And so this attack was actually rather unsophisticated and hit tens of thousands of machines. More sophisticated attacks are coming down the pipe that will target individual companies. And we know through our partners at Asigra that we've already seen customers they're literally embedding the attacks into and letting them sit and fester for literally months at a time, so that when they go, and you don't hear about these publicly for good reason. These are large institutions whose reputations are at risk, and they're not paying $300 to get their data back. They're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their data back.
And what kind of punishment do these people, if they're caught or when they're caught, do they face? Because to me, it should be automatic jail sentence.
No disagreement with that. But again, we're in a unique situation now where a lot of this is very hard to trace. Bitcoin means there's been a divergent or a technology that have come together between Bitcoin, between being able to proxy through multiple locations where it's almost impossible to trace a lot of these attackers. And so, yeah, I agree with you. If you can catch them, we should automatic jail time. But first question is, can you catch them? And as I mentioned, these attacks are not just coming from one location. They're coming from thousands of people around the world. And they'll continue to grow unless we find better methodologies to protect ourselves from this.
This cyber attack that just occurred, called WannaCry, as I mentioned, hit 99 countries, including the United States. That's stunning.
The ironic part about this and this attack, and I've been tracking it the last couple of days, it's hit 99 countries, has encrypted thousands of machines, and yet so far it appears the total dollar value they've collected from this is less than $20,000 in receipts. Now, it doesn't mean that's going to not decrease over the next little while, but it appears from what I've been reading and looking through as I've been following this attack is that they never intended it to hit this many machines. There was actually what they call a kill switch that would have shut this thing down, but that kill switch was directed towards a internet site that was not set up. And so one of the things that happened was a researcher on this literally set up a dummy domain name to execute the kill switch, and almost instantly most of the attacks started to stop. So this was, relatively speaking, a not a sophisticated attack, and was probably not meant to spread that far. But it just tells you how exposed we are and how many machines out there are exposed on a constant basis.
Wow, that's frightening. Most major corporations are aware of this. They've got sophisticated IT departments, and yet you still see, for example, last year when Target got hit.
Yep. And again, one of the challenges, no matter how large a corporation you have, is you're managing thousands upon thousands of machines. In fact, the larger the corporation, the easier the target is, because it only takes one machine to get infiltrated. And once that machine is infiltrated, any data sources that it can have, that it has access to, it can go and encrypt. And so reports from some of the hospitals, even within Canada, Ottawa was a good example. At the University Hospital in Ottawa was attacked last year. It only took 4 machines and to basically bring the hospital down for a period of time.
Scary. Fascinating stuff. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Ted. Cheers.
Michael Stevens is the Vice President of Marketing at Asigra. That's going to do it for us for this week. That went fast today. Did it seem fast to you? And by the way, there's somebody keeps sending me this text about immigration's all about terrorists. Yeah, really? And the people who come from Italy and France, Germany, Poland, Jamaica, terrorists? They're all terrorists. You're an idiot. Thanks very much for listening. We appreciate that. Thanks to Mike and